Good evening, folks. You know what day it is. You know what time. It's time for your weekly dose of hard talks with a blonde and a hippie. I'm your trippy hippie Alicia, jumping on the mic from good old Utah. And this evening, we're doing something a little different. I am not joined this evening by my co-host, Sarah. She did have a prior engagement. She will be back for her regular recording time next week. Tonight, we are joined by the lovely, beautiful, my wonderful, kick-ass auntie, Carlie. And we're also joined this evening from our very good family friend, who's actually been a family friend since I was even born, Mr. Tyler, all the way from Spain. How are you?
Hello. So good.
Thank
As
you.
we say here, hola.
Hola. Thank you for taking the time to, chat with me. I know it's an 8-hour time difference there, and you're a busy, busy guy, so I appreciate it.
No, absolutely. It's so great to be on and so excited to be with you guys. So absolutely, and thank you so much for asking me.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in forever. We have a lot to talk about.
It's been a while.
Oh, you've been
so
a busy
excited
guy.
to catch up.
And Carlie's been your best friend / neighbor from across the street since when?
Since about 2 years old.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't
I guess
say
that'd be
this,
birth.
but I think he was my first kiss.
Ooh.
Which
Yeah.
is funny
Yep.
as the story rolls on, but
I love that.
Different accounts. Yep. So as you can tell, it really progressed into love, and we have 3 kids together.
Yes.
She doesn't know about my other life, but we're just really happily married.
yeah, this long distance relationship is really working.
I think you guys earn an
Long
applause
distance,
for that.
Yeah.
No, but how old did you say you were when you had your first kiss?
When was that? I don't. I honestly remember it more as a story that our older siblings like to tease us about, so I couldn't say for sure.
That's funny.
I mean, yeah, there's multiple. It's like when on the tramp, under the tramp, on a sleepover.
Right.
And I guess we were really busy as these young kids.
Somewhere always a little hidden,
Yeah, maybe under the bed. I don't
Yeah.
know.
My dad
exactly.
used to give me a lot of grief because I think my first kiss was with Denver Robinson in Minnesota at 5 years old behind the hill in the backyard.
Oh, I
And
remember.
he was like army crawling over my dad, and we got busted that way. So, I don't know. I was a busy kid too, I
I
guess.
gotta get it done.
At least mine was lucky enough to be Carlie.
Right? Oh, I couldn't agree more.
Oh, so Tyler, I wanted to ask, where are you exactly in Spain right now, and what time is it for you? We're recording this at noon here in Utah, but what time is it there?
Yeah, so I'm in Madrid, Spain, and it's 8:12. So good old 8 hours away from you guys, and so it's adds to the fun.
I know, I apologize for the delay in sending you those questions. It's been a crazy week, but I was up until like
absolutely
2:30 in the morning last night, and I was like, you know what, this might be perfect time to send these still, because it's like 10 his time.
Exactly.
But
Yep.
what brought you to Spain?
Yeah, so it's been a little bit of a wild ride. I did my grad school out here at a university, did my MBA, and
Nice.
it's a 10-month program, and it's now been 18 months. So graduated and all that, but decided to stay out here just because I fell in love with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So are you planning on staying out there permanently?
To the tax government officials, no. To the Spain tax government officials, no. But
keep
yes,
it
I'm
hush
going
hush.
to try and stay as long as I can. It just depends on, work, monies, opportunity, all that. But like cost of living, people, culture, like the types of people here, it's just an absolutely incredible place. So it's like, why go anywhere else?
Right.
Do you have a visa that you have to work around, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's super fun. So, I mean, it's been an interesting ride because, like I said, it's been 10 months that I was supposed to graduate. So I entered in Spain August 2019. And then this little thing called COVID came around. And
We love that.
Madrid was on, one of the third epicenters of the virus. First, China, then Italy, and then Madrid. And I was in South Africa while it was all happening, and then they kicked us out of the country.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I had the choice of going back to the United States or Spain. And there was an individual, Lord Voldemort, he who must not be named, who was president of our dear country at the time. And I just had a feeling from the Holy Spirit, bless her, that she's like, don't go back to the States. It's going to be terrible. And so I decided to come back to Spain, and it was intense. We were on 72 days of lockdown.
Oh my goodness.
And not this like American lockdown. It was like a European lockdown where we couldn't leave our apartments. I would leave my apartment every about 7 to 10 days to go to the grocery store.
Gosh.
It was really kind of crazy. So school went online, everything turned online. And then we had the opportunity to still graduate in July, which I decided to extend it till December. And I, thought that was an easy visa to stay till then, and chose that. So I technically just graduated in December, and then, and now on a different visa. So yeah, it's a little bit complicated, but I'm on a 1-year visa from now. We'll then apply for another visa, hopefully get on a 2-year. So it's kind of it's that entrepreneurial life. It's that expat life. It's that, it's like day by day, you kind of take it as is. But it's been a really good experience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it sounds like you're really fucking hustling out there. I'm proud, and I'm so happy for you. Oh, and I apologize because I forget this every time, and Sarah gives me grief every time. But as soon as I curse, I'm like, oh, I forgot the disclaimer. I apologize. You know what you're listening to. We're ridiculous, crass, and all of our amazingness and splendor. So listen on your own time. We don't want to be responsible for your 4-year-old saying fuck or goddamn. Much love. Continuing on. I know you mentioned your degree and everything. Where did you start attending school initially? Like, where did you get your associates and bachelor's and everything?
Well, I started at a young age at 6 at Orchard Elementary in North Salt Lake City, Utah.
Yes.
And it really just gave me wings, eagle wings.
Eagle wings.
So just really soared from there. They would be so happy to see the young man that gosh, no, they wouldn't. But
kids are so nasty.
That and all of that high school and fun stuff. I did go to Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah.
Okay.
Which was a really great experience. Happened to go there by accident. Oh my gosh, Carlie, if you do remember. I was sent down, like I was a prisoner. I was dating a gentleman at the time. Oh yeah, by the way, me and Carlie are not married. I do like men.
We're all on the same page here. Yeah.
Yeah. I was dating this guy. I just know that I pass as a very macho heterosexual man, so I just have to often come out all the time. So it's just a taxing thing I have to often do. But we were dating. He was an asshat, but at the time I didn't know that. I was super young. Josh, if you're listening, you are a clown. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, shout out to you, doll.
We love, it's all good. But yeah, some stuff happened, and we ended up having to move, and we found, I don't know why, but found a place down in American Fork, Utah. And after about 6 months, we broke up, and I was already doing school down there. I decided it's close to school, so decided to start doing school out. Me and Carlie did go to Weber before that.
Hey.
We drove up there every day or every
did
other
have
day,
some
Wednesday,
good adventures.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Oh my gosh. Hitting deers, oh my gosh. There are so many things that went down on that 35-minute road, or you had to drive every day.
Oh, for sure.
Nonsense.
Good times.
So then once I went to Utah Valley University, political science with an emphasis in international relations. And yeah, it was quite the incredible experience there. I ended up really loving it and having a lot of fun.
And you said you were studying international relations?
Yeah, political science with an emphasis on that. So what does that mean? So
yeah. Well, so is that what you went on to do in your career? Is that what you're currently doing now? something in your degree field, if that makes sense.
The only political science I'm doing is arguing against my Republican family at the dinner table. And so I think it really is done me well to be the liberal, the laming homosexual that is not a vegetarian. But it's been good. It's always been a passion of mine. I've always loved politics. I was in debate in high school. I've always loved,
I was in debate in high school.
The way the world works, and it's just been always fascinating to me. I did always want to go to Washington D.C. I work for whatever campaign, but that always was wrapped around my goal to go to the Peace Corps, though, and so I think that's actually what led me. Political science, Peace Corps is political entity, and so I don't think it's definitely not career-wise. It's super great, to have that understanding of the general world and understanding, but definitely not my career.
Can I please just put in a plug real quick and allow everyone to enjoy this moment? Go to YouTube, search Mr. UVU. Well, please help me with the year 2000. I'll figure this out, but you will not be disappointed. He was Mr. UVU while he was there, and that was probably one of the greatest experiences of my life, watching him shake his thing on stage to Beyonce.
I love that.
We had green high heels on, we had a leotard, we had legs and arms for days, so it was quite a good experience.
Yes, that was awesome.
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna look that video up as soon as we're done recording because I need to see it.
You will not be disappointed.
We'll kind of circle back to what you're currently doing now, but I know you brought up the Peace Corps, and I want to ask about that because I feel like there's not much information out there about it. You have to do a little digging. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
How long were you in, and where were you located when you joined?
Yeah, talk about. I remember the process of you joining. Talk about that a little bit as well.
Yeah. The process is quite intense. It's very competitive program. It definitely is, like you said, kind of. You either have to know about it, or it definitely is you are somewhat a little bit younger than me, and so it's more of a generational thing, I would say. Definitely our parents, this was something brought on by Kennedy, so iconic for our parents' generation. Past that, still a thing for my generation. I think it's a select few of us, not right or wrong. It's just that was our interest of wanting to go into that. Somebody came into my junior high or high school and introduced it, and that was my goal for everything. So I joined clubs, I joined, academia, tried to be in student government, all these things. And it was for an end goal to get into this program. And so it's a 27-month program, paid for by the United States government. And I think my year was about 4,000 applicants out of 22,000.
So very competitive.
People were accepted with about 22,000 applications each year. And so interesting story or interesting fact about that is I honestly thought, I was confident that I would be able to get it, even though I knew it was very difficult. However, I applied for Myanmar the first time. Actually, I applied for Thailand the first time, and I was denied. And I honestly, that was heartbreaking and something I didn't expect. This was literally my life goal, something I had wanted to achieve. Everything I did was dedicated towards that, and so that really rocked me. Told my family, I'm moving on, I'm doing something else. I secretly applied for Myanmar, which just opened up. And both Thailand and Myanmar, are probably the two, some of the most competitive. I'm combative going against people with PhDs. I'm going against people that know, the language there. Wow. And so no shame, but at the same time, in the moment, it's heartbreaking. It's right, your dream's over. You don't amount to much. What could possibly be next? And then for some reason, I don't know, got a little bit of a awakening and said that, look, this is your dream. Stop basing it on a location and base it on what you want to do. And so I reapplied. I said I'd go anywhere in the world. And they sent an email that said I had been accepted to the Gambia, and I had no idea what the hell that meant, who it was, where it was, what it was, like nothing. I literally was like, is this a good, like, what program is this?
Is this a good
then I realized it was a country in West Africa. And so for our friends, West Africa is in the continent, not country, of Africa. And
Thank you.
Yeah, it's on the west side. Yeah. So in Senegal, completely encased, tiny, tiny little country. But yeah, that's where I ended up going.
You know, what's crazy is I've mentioned it briefly on the show previously, but my cousin Adam was also accepted into the Peace Corps, and he went to Zambia, Africa. And just some of the stories and experiences that he took away from it. I mean, for one, he's the most unmaterialistic person in the world, but he just the way he talks about it, he's like, honestly, it was the most humbling thing I've ever experienced in my life. Like, it taught me compassion, it taught me patience, it taught me gratitude for like what I have and what life looks like over here in the States. You know what I mean? And
do you remember sitting down with him? That's who we went to dinner with.
Which is absolutely crazy.
Before you
because
left.
It's also like the person who I was in that booth at the Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah.
If you guys want to sponsor this podcast, please contact us. We will shout you out at any time.
I will eat there once a week.
I was a completely different person because, how do I say this? There's a naivety to going into the Peace Corps, and there's a naivety of going into nonprofit and social impact work. There's, one, I thought I was going to go save them. I thought I was going to change them. I thought I was going to bring my education and understanding to them.
Sure.
They're the primitive people, and I'm the educated person. I have something to offer. They don't have something to offer me. And so through my experience, I got rocked, to say the least, both in the best and worst ways. And you are humbled for sure, but you're also awakened to the inequality of the world. You're also awakened to the biases that you hold, the racism that you hold, the complete ignorance that you hold. It was more of a personal journey, which is sad. I had to go 2 years on taxpayers' time to go find myself, but it's like, what can I offer you? I've never farmed in my life, but let me come and teach you because I read a manual that they gave me 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Let me come and educate your kids. I've never been a teacher, but the United States education system is better than yours, so I'm better than your teachers. Let me come in and teach you about gender equality, but the Peace Corps doesn't want you to ruffle feathers, so do it in a very particular way. Well, I'm sorry, when I'm seeing, terrible things happen, and that's all across the world, I have to be quiet to save face for the Peace Corps. It gets tainted, and so it actually, it's a difficult conversation that I literally could take up probably 2 hours doing and unpacking. But the Peace Corps is, I think, one of the best organizations for this because it's a 2-year program and it's not a 1 week, 2 week group of white Christians going in and saying like, oh my God, let me go look at like an orphanage and like hold a baby. And it has been proven that is some of the most damaging things you can do in this world. Have you heard the good news? Children in poverty, and so, but then we get to walk away and we feel so good. And we're like, oh my God, we are literally like the best people in the world. And it's like, go die. Then on the other side, like, you get to meet these incredible people. You also get to, like, one, I learned, but yeah, I got to teach them things. There were things I got to teach. I was able to challenge things. I was able to challenge myself. Like, there was an amazing thing about me being white there. Like, unfortunately, the way the system is they do uphold whiteness as better, which is insane. And again, like, this is, to your listeners, this is a context of, again, a 2-hour, 3-hour conversation.
Right.
And this is honestly the reality of what it is. But I was also able to use that privilege to challenge misogyny and, you know, sexism and those things that were held very, you know, dear to them. And not even dear to them, but just as tradition. And, you know, I got to challenge those. And as, you know, and that was curated over 6 months, after 6 months of living in a small remote village with them and having a family and developing some of the language. But, you know, so there was a lot of positivity and negativity that came out of it, but it was definitely a fascinating experience, to say the least.
Yeah. What, I know that it can be really difficult picking up the language in any country in Africa, just because there's so many different tribal languages or just, you know, everyone kind of speaks something different. So how is the language barrier for you?
That was probably the worst for me, you know, and I relied on one of my counterparts, a Gambian teacher who became one of my best friends there. He spoke, you know, perfect English, you know, and I also, it's a complex kind of thing, but in my compound, it's one family. Gambia's 98% Muslim, so
really?
it's
Wow.
a Muslim family, which they were practicing polygamy, so there was multiple families within the family. I had, as you enter in, I had host parents, which means I had host brothers, which their wives became my wives. Again, a complex kind of situation.
Wow.
So one of my host wives took care of me, did everything. And like, I was her responsibility ultimately, and me and her really vibed well, and she became everything. And so even though she didn't speak English, I didn't speak Wolof, which was the language that my village spoke. We were able to, you know, vibe and work with each other. And she absolutely saved my life and is one of the most incredible people in the entire world. But yeah, I mean, so the things is, you know, fetching water, that I could have literally had girls or the women in my compound do that for me. I would just set them outside my hut. The laundry, and cooking, all that. And to be honest, if I was ever fact checked, I did pay my wife to do my laundry because I hated it so
At
much.
least you paid her.
I did pay her. So I paid her under the table where nobody knew. But yeah, but like, I fetched my own water. I folded my own clothes. I tried to take on as many quote unquote women's jobs as I could. I, you know, pounded couscous. I pounded, you know, like, I was doing as many things as I could to, and I did when I did laundry, I would do it outside so people would see men walking by, the little kids, if I ever saw them mistreating, you know. And so there's so many things that I could say and do because I was an outsider, that they were like, okay, he's just kind of crazy. But I also opened up a lot of conversation.
Yeah, you were normalizing that a little bit.
Norms.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know that this is kind of a loaded question, but what would you say is one of the most profound experiences that you had, or maybe even like culture shock when you got there? Like, what was the biggest thing?
Threw you on your butt.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Because for my cousin, like, for example, I mean, there were a couple women in the village that had never even seen their own reflection. You know, he brought a handheld mirror, and they were like raving about this mirror. And where we have mirrors almost in every room in our houses here, it's just kind of like, man, I couldn't imagine like not knowing what I look like. Maybe I'd be better off.
Right? Maybe we all would.
It's a better life that way.
Yeah.
Less vanity.
Sure.
Actually, they care 1,000% what they look, and they turn looks every freaking day. So don't ever, like, I mean, it's just like they know what they are beautiful. And when they want to go to a party or like a funeral or a wedding, or if they're going outside of the village, like they are dressed to the nines, and I'm in these like raggedy, dirty, nasty, like American clothes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, hi, like, yeah, it's trashy, like, oh,
I
terrible,
love that.
terrible. I could have done better, but also like wearing the fabric, like I was in booty shorts, like so inappropriate. Like this is a like Muslim family, and I'm sitting in like booty shorts and a tank top, and I'm like, sup bitches? They're like, get out, like we just need you to leave. But yeah, so those were like the fun things that I could do, like, you know. Culture shock though. I mean, I remember the first time walking, you know, getting dropped off in the village, the training villages, and you know, you walk in and you're in a hut, and we all have our, you know, preconceived notions of what that would be. And I remember, like, it was so, oh my gosh, I would like, there's this like big beehive made out of mud, and I didn't speak the language. Literally dropped off like 5 days after landing in country. My training host family is there, and my host father is like walking me in, and I just like point to it, and I just shake my head, and I'm like, that. And he just went and just like grabbed it by his hand and just like checked it out. I'm like, yeah, I probably could have done that, but like not happening, so thank you, sir. But it was like that whole night probably was just like the biggest culture shock, but in like the dumbest, like, oh my gosh, I'm in Africa, like so stupid. When I look back on it, I'm like, okay, cool, like they would come and look at our lives and be like, what the hell is all this? And like, why do you have like a bookshelf full of like bowls? Like, I'm sorry, that doesn't make any, and dead plants. Like,
you mean you don't use the bowls?
I mean, yeah, like when I'm cooking my Wolof rice, like, yeah, from Africa. So no, but like, I think that would be like the most cultural shock that I had as the Tyler I was at that point. But then, you know, it's like everyone's like, oh my gosh, how did you live with no electricity? How did you live with no running water? And that stuff is like non-important. Like that just has become so easy. Like it really is just nothing. And what becomes crazy is, you know, the lack of communication. If I, you know, me not knowing the language, me being able to communicate. I think it's the understanding of what people in this world go through to survive, and it's not. As much as I want to bring down the rich, the super super rich, I'm all for that, but it's not a bad thing. And the messaging of what we're going through in our society now is not, hey, you know, Susan across the street just got a new car, we should like burn her house down. It's these multi-billionaires that are, you know, living off the backs of the American people that we need to deconstruct and make sure that equity is spread across so that families can pay rent and they can have free medical access, that they can have that. So I don't want that to get that skewed. And so when I say these people, these Gambians and the people that I lived with that have become family, it's not, oh my gosh, you are poor. It's, you have limited access to resources because of what Western society has done to you. You have limited access to resources because of your current state of government. You have limited access because of the state of the world and how we push you down. And it's not a lack of work. It's not a lack of, you know, vigor and want and desire. Like they wake up at, you know, my host father wakes up at 5 a.m. Actually 5 a.m. because that's the first prayer. And then they're off to the farm and they work all day. I tried it once and oh my gosh, I maybe worked like 20 minutes and I think I sat in the dirt for like a good 6 hours. Like my hands were blistered. Oh I was like hoeing and it wasn't the hoeing that I like to do. So I was like, this ain't for me, people. Like, and so I like gave them water. Like I was like the water boy. And like I just kind of like imagine like me in heels, just like trying to like tread through the dirt. And I'm just kidding. They would not night me in heels, but it was a sight to see for sure. And I was like, you know, fam, I love that you guys farm, but this isn't for me, so I'm going to find other activities for me in the village. And that was like sleeping a lot, but no. So basically what I'm like trying to say is like it was more of the reality of the world, and also the reality of how I have been benefiting from the world. And I truly do not say this because like, oh my gosh, like I'm on a podcast and this is the state of where we are right now. But I truly transformed to a point, and I still have a lot of work to do. But really understanding my privilege and understanding what it means to be an American in this world, what it means to be a white American, what it means to be a white male, like I was walking into so many spaces that challenged these, and that actually the direct opposite was in front of me, and you could palpably see how we were treated differently. So yeah, equity is a big thing, and also equity is not also, they have their growth to do, and I always challenge that. They have growth to do in equality for genders. They have equality to do in LGBT issues. They have equality to do, in their government. So it's a worldwide issue. But again, how do we, as Westerners, white people, developed countries, prop them up to help create that equality, though, too.
Right on.
No, I mean, and that sounds like it was just such a powerful experience for
Absolutely.
you. No, and that's why I honestly wanted to reach out. I love watching you live your best life on social media because I'm like, man, this guy's just fucking killing it, But what would you say?
I've been lucky, that's for sure, but yeah.
Yeah.
Blessed.
You're fabulous.
Worked hard.
What would you recommend to people who, wanted more information about maybe joining the Peace Corps or, just to learn more about it? Like, what would you say to someone on the fence or like someone who's thinking about going into humanitarianism work like that?
So if you were speaking to me bluntly, I'd say just don't do it. There's so much better ways to get your resources out. There's a lot of issues with the Peace Corps that if you Google, you'll see like the issues with the organization as a whole. The way that they treat female volunteers, sexual assaults, queer volunteers of color, there's a lot of issues. And, I have firsthand experience of that and having, my safety exposed and in danger and the lack of resources that were provided. And I was okay. But there's a lot of people that aren't. And so before you do it for the right reasons, do it full knowing what you're going to be getting into, talk to volunteers, get their experience. So it's not going to be all the same. If you're a white volunteer, do not only talk to white volunteers. If you're a white male volunteer, don't only talk to white male volunteers, because a woman's experience is completely different. And it's just it's an interesting ride. It is. The Peace Corps, they have their goal and their mission, and they're going to tell you in rose-colored glasses what the experience is going to be. However, it's a very different experience when you're trying to manage, 4,000 people across the world in remote villages or cities and towns,
Sure.
It's difficult, but they have not been the best. So in that sense, do it for the right reasons. Do it with an understanding that you're not there to save anybody. You're not going to change the world. You might not even change a village. But you can make impact if you go about it in the right way, in the right mindset. So yeah, it's a complex issue. And I think just educate yourself, dive in. The internet has a lot of stories and a lot of, pros and cons that you can then form kind of, is this the right fit for you?
Yeah. So I know you mentioned before, if this isn't the best way to get your resources out, what would be your recommendation if they wanted to go a different route?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the scary part. So I don't know if I finished this thought. It was like Peace Corps is kind of the best route because it is 2 years. So, so it's like, it is, you get to understand, you get to learn the culture, you get to live in it. Mm-hmm. You're not just visiting and going on vacation. So that is a really big plus for the Peace Corps. If you are looking at other things, really like beyond 3 to 6 months at minimum of those commitments, not a flash thing. Give to organizations, local organizations, don't give to American organizations that are like, oh, no, we're doing it. there are always going to be local NGOs. Like, you know, in our capital, Banjul, you know, there was many NGOs that Gambians were running, and how great would it have been to be able to fund them. I mean, NGOs in this world, they run on billions of dollars. If we would give those, you know, large, or, you know, even like a $5,000 donation there, that would go beyond, you know, what it would go to an American organization. And that's not to say American organizations aren't doing their part, but there's just a lot of things involved and in between. So, you know, look local, do your research, look at programs that are 3 to 6 months, but also just get out and live, and just remove yourself from the equation. Don't learn what volunteerism is, learn what it is to be white if you are in these situations, learn what it is to be Western in these situations, learn what it is to be privileged in these situations, and that's across all boards. Being a Westerner from wherever, of whatever religion, race, sexuality, is a privilege in a lot of these circumstances, because the world has distorted the way that we are and our position in the world. So I think for me, it's education to the max. It's, you know, stop taking pictures with black babies, and, you know, that goes on your Instagram. Like, that's not needed. Stop going on, you know, these trips. Stop, you know, just take a minute to look and listen without a camera, and truly be authentic if you're going to go and interfere or engage into a population. I guess maybe like a really good check is like, if you do go abroad, is like, okay, would I do this in France, Italy, Spain? Like, no, I wouldn't go into somebody's home and be like, oh my God, like, let me look at your bed. Oh my gosh, like, you live like this? Oh my gosh, I'm just like, I need to do a tour of how Spanish people are. Like, no.
Oh my God.
Tourist attractions. You go to, like, you know, the beach, you go here. So it's like, if you go to these countries, enjoy it. They're beautiful. They're amazing. Absolutely. But don't go and make the people a tourist attraction.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, and there's so much to be taken away from every culture. You know what I mean? It's all about perspective and expanding your mind, you know? Well, I love that. Thank you for sharing some of your experiences about that. We really could go on and do a whole episode about your travels and all that you've seen. And maybe we could in the future. But I wanted to ask you a couple more things. Like, I know that you've traveled a lot for work as well. You're a busy bee. It seems like you've been kind of everywhere. So, sorry, I'm circling back. You already told me too that you don't think that you'd ever move back to Utah. Is that correct?
God bless Utah. I will shit on it and brag about it equally. Like, if I'm talking to Utah and I'm like, I live in Europe, like, you should get out. And then if I'm talking to like anybody outside of Utah, I'm like, Utah is the most beautiful place. Like, look at my Instagram. Look how pretty. Oh my gosh, it's the greatest place with the greatest people. And so I give it equality of both good and bad. But no, I don't think I would live there. I think I would maybe settle down there. My heart is there because my little nieces are there and my family is there. Yeah. So that's like the hardest part when you live abroad. It's interesting because if you have that desire to live abroad and you stay home for your family and for that comfortability, you always have this guilt of, I'm not living my dream. I'm not doing what I want to do. And then when you do move away, you have this, you have this guilt and this, you know, that you're away from your family and you're missing out on these opportunities. And so it's a really interesting life to kind of balance. But in no ways, I absolutely love Utah. I think if I got married, I would settle there. But I don't want to date there, nor do I want to. I don't know.
The dating game here sucks. Okay, let me tell you that. The men here are just a little bit of fuckboys, and I'm over it. I honestly am.
No, it's not worth it. I mean, but honestly, there is a main theme across the world with men, and that they just suck. So there's
fuckery everywhere, is what you're telling me.
Exactly. I can't get myself to curse in front of Carlie. Oh my gosh, my first kiss. Like I'm being like this true Christian Mormon savior still. So
Oh,
A
please.
beautiful gay Christian man.
yes, exactly.
So, in all of your travels, what are your thoughts on the Pride community in our state versus the vibrancy of the gay community around the world?
Go Utah for one. Like putting up the middle finger to the entity that held them down for so long.
Yes.
It takes balls. And it takes a lot of courage, and I'm thankful for the people that did that before me.
Mm-hmm.
The Pride, so if you're talking about the Pride event, we've done well in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
However, it just is all comparison. In a massive city, I haven't been able to experience it because of COVID, but in Madrid, it's usually 2 million people,
That's amazing.
over a 5-day event. So it's like literally the whole capacity of the Madrid, city is just, the streets are full, it's shut down, the city, and so of course we're never going to get that in Salt Lake, but what Salt Lake provides is a family friendly, relaxed event where the community comes together on a very personal level.
Yes.
And there's so much like benefit to talk about that and what that provides for, people, especially our community there. And so, in the Gambia, it was illegal to be gay. So I've experienced that. In other parts of the world, you just hide it.
You did have to conceal that while you were there?
Yes, I had to come up with, because of my very masculine ways, aka not masculine ways, I was getting called out, and as in a Muslim community and faith, marriage is very important to them. So it was, why are you not married? What's going on? You're 27, like you should be married. And I'm like, oh my God, no.
This is worse than my grandma.
I was like, and then this biatch, Fatu, bitch. She was my other host's wife, and I just cut her out. But she was like, why are you so feminine? She spoke English, which was a detriment. But she's like, why are you so feminine? Why do you like go like this? And I'm like, and me and her got into it, and it was in the center of my compound with everybody there.
Oh, no.
And I was like, I just went in at her, but I was like, oh my God, you are literally gonna get like your ass beat, and which is fine, but like whatever. But we got through it. So, but after that, I was like, okay. So my best friend, we have millions of pictures together. We have her nephew. We had millions of pictures together. These were before my nieces were born. And so I just was like, this is my wife. This is my child. Oh my God, don't we love them? And they're like, you've been telling us that you're not married. And I'm like, oh, bad language. Like, I am so sorry.
Bad
like,
language.
Language difficulties. Yeah.
You got that wrong.
We had a marriage. Yeah, we were married the whole time. And a plus to that is I actually had a boyfriend the whole time. Well, not the whole time, about, I don't even know, a year to a year and a half.
Big pluses.
He was another Peace Corps volunteer. And yeah, they just thought we were best friends. So sleepovers were totally fine.
I love it.
Yeah, so as long as and then if a girl volunteer came over, my host grandma, she'd be like, what are you guys going to do? Like, you guys going to like totally bone? Like, she was like saying this shit in Wolof, and she's like making gestures. She's like, yeah, make a baby. And I'm like, oh my God, yes, grandma. And I was like, and she's like, and then dude be like, hey, she needs to sleep in grandma's house. You guys can't sleep together. And I'm like, okay, like, I'm married, it's fine, nothing's gonna happen.
I'm married.
So yeah, like, it was totally fine, it was super great. Me and him could go back to each other's village. They didn't, who knows, maybe they did know something's up, but we got away with a lot of things.
Where's my applause button?
Yes.
Pause forever. But, sorry, I'm stuck on that. That's great. The gay community in Spain and Europe is thriving. How is it in comparison to like Utah? I know that we've come a long way, you know what I mean? We do have our Pride Festival, which is beautiful. I actually went a couple years ago with my straight dad and 2 uncles. So it was great, and we all had a good time, and yeah, very family friendly. But I mean, are you dating now? Is there a special gentleman in your life? Or are you just kind of playing the field?
Me and my many personalities holidays keep me very busy. And so I just think that right now I can't handle any other man. No, right now dating is weirdly not a priority.
Cheers to that.
Yes, I've been dating, my last relationship was not the best, which is totally okay. It is what it was. But yeah, no, I mean, the community here is, I always say you throw a stick and you're going to hit 12 gays.
Oh, I love it.
Are everywhere. We've taken over Madrid. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It's, Madrid is just a very special place. However, it's, Europe is very liberal, or what's the word? Forward thinking on a lot of things, but at the same time, they still have the Achilles. What they
Achilles heel?
Is that the
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah.
There we go.
I got you. The Achilles heel.
Yeah. Greek mythology does not my knowledge. But yeah, so it's they still struggle, outside of the bigger cities. You still have, racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia. Immigration is a huge issue in Europe. You have an influx of immigrants coming from war-torn, terrible, situations in countries. And thank God that they've taken them in, but then it does, influx people being uncomfortable, and there is another side that comes out of that. And so it's interesting. I feel so safe here. There's things that Americans talk about, and this is on a totally different tangent, but I don't look for exits when I go to movie theaters. I don't look for exits, or I do maybe. Actually, I'm the one who I live near the center of Madrid, and I'm okay. If something happens, there's this way, this way, this way. If I go to a movie theater, I go this way, this, or But none of my other friends, they're what do you what would be your concern? I'm you guys don't have mass shooters that come into your places and just go guns blazing. And they're what are you talking
Schools,
about?
Movie theaters, malls. Jesus.
There is this sense of safety, and I don't want to speak broadly, but with my female friends, they do feel safer. There's still, things that they have to do, so there's still a quality that we need to meet. However, we just always have to be careful and forward thinking, because as change happens, people get uncomfortable, and we can either choose two paths: to dig in with our heels and fight against it, or learn and educate ourselves and try to understand the other person and their differences, which usually then turns into, I get it. Let's walk together, and so, there's still growth, but it's beautiful here. It's beautiful in the United States. There's just so much growth, and I think it's just a priority for all of us to maintain that, and keep working.
This might be a little more sensitive of a question, but if you're open and willing to share, that's totally up to you. But I wanted to ask and throw it out there. Your family is absolutely incredible. You come from such a great family. My grandma and your mom have been friends for so long, like we were saying. Love your mom. But I wanted to ask, since you grew up in a predominantly LDS family, did you ever struggle with your sexuality and eventually coming out, having been brought up in a religious home?
Short answer, yes. Long answer, yes. That's, again, could be a whole, book.
Absolutely.
But no, I don't think there's any LGBT plus queer person that my age, and even younger or older, that came into a family hasn't experienced some kind of difficulty of who they are. Our society isn't to a point where we don't have difficulties. What's great is everybody has difficulties. So we're maybe getting to a point that we're getting a little bit better, where it's a part of life and our difficulties. However, religion, when I was, coming into myself around 12, 13, 14, not even understanding the concept, but, identifying my urges and realizing like, hey, that guy's cute rather than, hey, that woman is cute.
Right.
I've been taught, and the narrative is that gays belong in hell and they should die, and that that's the second thing worse to murder, and
Which I hate.
X, Y, and Z, da da da. And so, how do you, you're developing as a child already with just life and who you are, then add on that and this narrative, it adds pressure. Thank God, absolutely, that I was in a capacity mindset. I had strength, I had support, I had these things that kept me there. But yeah, no, it was an everyday battle. I remember, hearing this story in church that, you prayed all night and, then something happened. So I prayed all night. Like I literally tried. I'm like, what? This is a joke. But like, no. If I pray all night and I just try, it'll go away.
Freaking A.
Yeah. And it's, talking to the bishop every time I messed up, and thank God I had a really, really good bishop, and he probably is what kept me alive. But it's just your self-worth and meaning is nothing. And yeah, but it's a story that a lot of us share. And what makes the community so great is that we are, we all have a similar story, and we can have a lot of compassion and empathy for each other, and we understand where we came from. So there's beauty behind that. And our strength has also pushed the Christian community to have a little bit more empathy and compassion as well. And so it was difficult. Oh my gosh, edit that out, please. There's a lot of amazing growth, but I hope, I struggle with this question, and now I'm rambling on, but I struggle with this question. I knew this question was coming, but I'm trying to now learn what the narrative of my life is.
Yeah.
And that's a really difficult question for me, because the written story is something that was very difficult and heart-wrenching. And, I thought about suicide. I never really wanted to, but then I also saw suicide around me. I saw heartache around me. I lived in hating myself, and that went on for a very long time. It's not, 12, 13, it's 26, 27, until I finally left and really said, like, I don't want anything more to do with this church. And it's not, this church is bad, and that's not the narrative I'm saying. It's just, it didn't work for me, and they do have a lot of growth, but I had to let go of something that was hurting me.
Absolutely.
And so in this moment, I can tell that story and say, what, on this point and this point and this point, they hurt me. On this point and this point, my mom said this. My dad said this when he came out. Not the most fun things to go through, but then I want to more focus on this celebration of that we got through it, that the first thing my mom said was, I love you, that me and my dad's relationship has been the best it's ever been, that I have found a very unapologetic approach to life, that I am queer and I am very happy. And I think I saw something on Instagram, that queer kids need queer examples of happiness. And that is something I want to provide. It's our stories are told in heart-wrenching, religious, conversion therapy and this, and this, and which is absolutely true to our story. However, we do need to start giving these kids happiness and something to look forward to. And that, my life right now is the best it's ever been. And I'm surrounded by the queerest group of 7, 8, 9 countries represented.
Oh my God. I love it.
Like it's, the best thing. We find a family with each other, and also, how do I have these conversations with religious entities and educate them? How do I learn from them? That's my biggest thing, is I need to stop cutting. Like, I want to open up my heart to them. Might not happen for another year, 2 years, or 5 or 10 or 12, who knows? Yeah. These are all things that, and these are also not things that a gay person is responsible for either. These are just personal choices that I think the boundaries are great. If it doesn't work to have those relationships, that's fine. But if there are some that can have those conversations, amazing. And so it's an interesting journey. Yikes. But yeah, I don't know if I answered your question in the slightest. But
you definitely did.
You.
No, I'm a big believer, and I've said it before, and I'll say it forever. I think everything we go through, mold us into the people that we're meant to be. And life is hard. It's fucking hard. But you can either let shit defeat you, or you can rise above it and overcome whatever it may be. And it just makes you that much stronger, that much wiser, that much more helpful to someone else who might take away something from your experience. Just like you were saying, like, as human beings, we have so much to learn from each other. And I think that's the most epic part about this journey called life, if you will, is we're constantly changing. We're constantly growing. We're always learning new things about ourselves. And yeah, I think more power to everyone who's ever struggled and gotten through it, Ride that fucking wave. You guys are awesome. I'm serious.
A long, long wave.
Long, long wave. But, if you make it through to the end, like, I promise, like, it's almost my birthday. And my favorite thing to do on my birthday is to self-reflect, because shit, like, I think everybody needs to do some self-reflection. It may be hard to revisit those difficult times in your life, but I mean, look how far you've come. It has a lot to do with self-love and self-value. Like, if you can look at your own growth and your own accomplishments and be like, damn, like, I'm fucking proud of that. Like, I got through that. It really, builds yourself up and preps you for more opportunity and better things to come. Really. Oh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, tangent. So all that being said, I wanted to ask, who was the first person that you came out to?
Well, probably the first person I hooked up with. That would have been him, but we were not gay, so don't worry. We were not gay at that time, was what we were telling ourselves. The first person I came out to, probably some man online. Beyond that, honestly, I don't even remember. But the first person that I said I was gay to was my first boyfriend. And that was after 3 months of dating. Because we weren't, again, gay. So I bet the first person I came out to would actually have been Bishop. Yeah. It would have been a Bishop. So, I told him in, privacy, and it was never that I'm gay, but it's, I have urges, I have this, I did this with a guy, but, I'm like still straight, like I'm still working on it, like, like we'll get through it. So it was never like that. And then after dating my boyfriend and first boyfriend and falling in love with him, and I realized it first. I said it, I think, a couple months before he ever said it too. So, yeah.
So would you say that your first boyfriend definitely helped you in coming out and, feeling more comfortable?
Yes, as Carlie might remember some of that saga as well. That, I mean, is, also a story of the heartache that a lot of queer people go through. And he is one of the most incredibly kind-hearted individuals to this day. And what I say is because we dated for about 1.5 years. We unexpectedly, found each other, unexpectedly fell in love with each other. And then very abruptly, I fell out of love. And so, but after a long while, I destroyed him. I broke his heart. But what I realized is that we were brought together for the purpose of coming out and for the purpose of keeping each other alive. And I say that because, there's a very distinct quote that he said, while we were in the thick of coming out, and he just said, I always told myself that, when he or if his dad ever found out, he would have completed suicide. And so, you know, and he's just like, you know, but because we're together, you know, like it's given me purpose, and, you know, and now he's this like beyond liberal human rights, I think, attorney. I don't even know, but he's doing incredible things. So currently living with his boyfriend. So absolutely, like, you know, and I look back, it's just like, what a blessing that the universe brought us together, because without him and him without me, it would have been a very different story. And so just nothing but gratitude for him.
I love that outlook. You know, I've been with some shitty human beings in my lifetime, but I was literally talking about this last night with someone, and I was like, you know what? If I didn't meet my ex-husband, I'd probably, and have a child, like I'd probably be dead in a ditch or a drug addict somewhere. That's the ugly truth. Like, I was not going down a good path, and sometimes you need someone to like pull you out of the fucking water, prevent you from drowning.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that you found each other. I'm glad that you've gotten all the opportunities and the experiences that you've had, because I just can't commend you enough. I have so much mad respect for you. I think you're fucking awesome, and you're so strong. You really are. So is everyone else who's dealing with, oh shit, like, nobody should be made to feel shame, if you will. You know what I mean? It's all about the way you phrase things too.
These things come naturally. It's not a choice.
No, that's what I was
it's
saying.
a narrative that we all have to learn. But no, I mean, what you're saying is absolutely true, and it's language and is key. You know, and that's why like the education process is so key for all of us. You know, whether it's going to be Christians learning about queer people, whether it's white people learning about Black Americans' experiences, whether it's you know, men learning about women's experiences. Language matters. Educating yourself matters. It starts with you. There's a thing called Google that you can really, you know, look things up. It's kind of new, so you heard it first.
Google is what being an adult means. Just Googling things to figure shit out. Like,
yeah, before you go running your mouth somewhere, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You know who you are. You know who you are. Hello. Go to Google. So before we wrap things up, I wanted to ask you another loaded question, because I feel like anyone listening to this who, you know, maybe closeted or, you know, maybe, you know, able to relate to where you were at one point, what is something you'd like the world or our listeners to know or be educated on most about the community?
That being queer is one of the best things that you could ever be in this world. It is,
Applause.
I don't know, I mean, it's interesting because first and foremost, you're human, you're from this universe. To some of you, you're from a god. From others, you're from an explosion that happened billions of years ago.
We're from monkeys.
Yeah, you know, but at the end of the day, you're the child of your parents. You're the brother or sister or the person of your siblings. You're so much that makes you up. And to be honest, like, don't ever let somebody dim you down and say, you know, like, being queer is shouldn't be the main focus. If it is, and you want it to be, absolutely, it's one of my biggest focuses of who I am. And it's a journey and it's a process. And unfortunately, with marginalized communities and populations, a lot of the times we're the ones holding our tongues. We're the ones having the patience. We're the ones having to educate. It's exhausting. And this is coming from a white male, so I can't imagine it for the much more marginalized people than me. But it's worth it. It's there's growth. It's, I think, trying to be as optimistic as you can. But where it turned for me is when I stopped trying to have external love and focused on internal love. And I don't say that in the most cliche way possible. I mean that it's super difficult to achieve. You struggle with it every day. I have self-esteem issues. I go through the ringer weekly with, thoughts and loneliness and
Anxiety.
But I remember at the end of the day, like, hey, like, you have strength, you have power, you have purpose.
Love that.
You living is the most important thing to this world and to this community, to your family. It might not seem like it right now, but you being alive and being authentic and true to you is the most important. And that goes to everybody. And
it's not by accident, friends.
Yes. Like if you need to leave your biological family and go to a created family, do that. If you need to find hospice for time away temporarily, do that. If you have the best family, celebrate them and bring more other people into your family.
Yeah.
But I think it's just finding and learning to love yourself, finding the community that you fit into. Don't go looking for a community and fit yourself in there just to fit yourself in. Find yourself just like in any, high school group or whatever. But, make the best choice for you. Be authentic, be true, be kind. The world is already mean. We don't need to be any more mean.
Yeah, it's nasty.
But I think it's just finding love for yourself is the strongest thing.
Yeah, I love that.
Me too. I do. Nearly in tears over
I know,
here.
she's got watery eyes. I know, and like you said, you guys are here for a reason. It may not feel like it right now, but you do have purpose, and yeah, don't give up, friends. There's a wild ride in front of you, I promise. And be transparent about how you're feeling, just like Tyler said. Give yourself that time, that energy, that attention. You know what I mean? Treat yourself how you would want to, be treated by someone else. Does that make sense? If you got this beautiful guy and you do everything for him, treat yourself like you would treat him. Absolutely. You come first.
Don't let others define you.
Yeah. And also, if you know of any other beautiful guy, send him my way, because we are thirsty over here.
Yeah. Send them my way, too. I keep asking for beautiful black men to slide into my DM, but it hasn't happened yet.
One day.
We'll all do each other a favor.
Yeah, exactly.
Network.
Yeah,
That's exactly what this is.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, Tyler, again, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. You're such an amazing, vibrant soul, and I'm honored to know you and been able to have this awesome conversation. I know that our listeners are going to love you. They're probably going to be like, yo, we want to hear more from this guy in the future. So you never know. We might ask you to come back on.
Kind.
Yeah.
Would love that.
Oh.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be on. It's so good to hear from both of you. Definitely would love to catch up more.
Yeah. Do you have a trip planned back to Utah anytime soon in the future?
No, but it's on the docket. We'll get there.
It's on the
maybe in
horizon.
fall sometime. Yeah.
Give me a
European summer.
Yeah, give me a ring when you're in town, and we'll sit down in studio for real in person. How's that sound?
Awesome.
I love it.
That.
All that being said, guys, we hope you enjoyed this evening's episode. If you want to give us a follow at Hard Talks with B&H on Instagram and Facebook, you could also email into the show to suggest conversational topics, be a part of the conversation, or just say hey. We love to hear from you. You could also give us a follow on Twitter at Hard Talks with B1. And I'm sorry, I didn't say our email address. I do that every damn time. It's hardtalkswithbnh@gmail.com. If you're on Apple Podcasts, do us a huge, huge favor. Go give us that 5-star rating. Give us a review. Like I like to say, we want to hear from you. We want to hear what we could do better. What you thought was funny. Tell us what color your underwear are. I don't really care. Just comment. Until then, guys, we hope you have a great rest of your week. We will see you next Friday. Be safe. Be kind. Love yourself. Treat yourself right. Until then, bye.
Hard talk and talk them.
Yeah.